What's up guys? This is the first video in a new series I'm hopefully gonna start doing. Basically, a YouTuber friend of mine, SkinnySwine, messaged me during the week with the idea of me doing commentary over other people's gameplay. Like, people who are trying to get better at the game can send me their best run or a new run of theirs, and I can give commentary kind of responding specifically to what they do and how they play, and give some thoughts as to how they could improve it. And I really like this idea because, one, I can't record at the moment, so I can't put up any new gameplay, and two, I'm playing so bad you wouldn't want to see it even if I could. And yeah, I thought it'd be maybe I'll be able to help people out as well. So that's what I'm doing in this video. I just want to emphasise that I think the point of it isn't for me to kind of give the definitive verdicts on how people should play. All I do is talk about how I see the game. And I mean, I'm not number one anymore, I ain't number two anymore. So my opinion isn't any more valid than anyone else's. It's just, what I'll do is I'll talk about how I would go about trying to improve a 1-2 billion score and turn it into a 3 or 4 billion score. Then maybe that can be kind of a starting point for other people to give their constructive critiques in the comment section or what have you. So, and it could be more of a kind of community orientated video. So if you're interested in having me commentate over your videos, get in touch, send me a private message and we can arrange how I can get hold of your footage. I haven't got any particular limits in mind, except maybe probably be good for the run to be a minimum of around 200 to 300 million, just because I think less than that you can probably improve upon it just by looking at the general tutorials I've done. And plus, sort of 200 million, that's a decent amount of time for me to talk over the commentary, over the gameplay. And I don't mind what quality the footage is, as long as I can see it and it doesn't make my eyes bleed. My stuff's obviously not HD, so yeah, don't worry if it looks bad, as long as I can see what's going on. This was all SkinnySwine's idea. I think it's a great idea. So if you like the sound of it, then show your gratitude to him, not to me. It's not my idea at all. And check out his channel videos. Descriptions in the video. Channel link is in the description. Right, I think that's everything I needed to say. So let's take a look at SkinnySwine. Old Skinny Pig, I think his gamer tag is. Let's take a look at his gameplay and see what's going on here. Well, the first thing to say is having HD on my channel looks pretty sweet. As you can see, Skinny's got a 1.5 high score at this point, so he obviously knows how to play the game. And what I like, obviously it's not that significant at this stage, but what I like is that right off the bat he's quite diligent about collecting geome. You may as well do that as soon as you can. And also just bunching up the blues. Like I said, it doesn't matter really, because you're going to get the points, it's just going to happen, but it's good to have that ethos in mind, and just to start off with you mean to carry on really, I think. I always try to make sure I do the technique that I think is right throughout from the very beginning of the gameplay. And this is a nice hit there, destroys the entire cloud, so that indicates that he knows the technique of how to use the gates and how to destroy entire clouds. I noticed kind of from here that GM goes a little bit missing. Like, he seems reasonably happy to leave it behind there, which I think is probably worth going through GM rather than destroying quite so many gates, because you do want to make life as easy as possible for yourself by collecting as much GM as you can, throughout. There again, a little bit does go missing there. Excuse me. But again, nice hits there on the cloud. Completely in control, clearly. That's another nice one. But again, I say being more diligent with the GM is all I would change about this first 100 million. If I can just stop it here. So as you can see, well, actually you can't really see. That's terrible timing by me, but if I timed it better, he'd be able to see that the GM at this point is at 1,700, and that's a little bit below what I aim for. I try and hit 2,000 GM at 80 million, and by the time I get to 100 million, I like to have it around 2,200. I mean, that's arbitrary, but that's my indicator that I use to make sure I'm on target and I'm collecting GM diligently. I mean, I guess there are two things you want to do over the course of the first 100 million. And because you're not under much pressure for the most part, I think you do want to collect every single bit of GM that you can. But also, you do want to be destroying the cloud enough so as to make sure you're not under pressure. So, I mean, he's absolutely right to be destroying the cloud the way he was and getting good hits, as we saw him do. But it could have possibly sacrificed a few of those gates, not gone for them, and instead gone for GM a bit more. And I understand this is quite an old gameplay, so I imagine this is stuff that's already been integrated into his game, but those are my sort of reflections on that first 100 million. So let's get back into the action. Now there are two things that I think old Skinny Pig does really well, two particular things he does really well in the rest of this run. One, he hits the gates, difficult gates, very confidently. I mean, there's a couple of occasions later on where there's only a tiny bit sticking out, but he can very happily go for those, and that's essential really, and you'll get that from playing the game just a lot and being good at games. You'll need to hit those gates like there. That was that difficult one, and if you're not confident you'll probably get it wrong. The other thing is he's clearly very mindful where the escape routes are. And those, just again, quite intuitively, you see, he knew not to go for that gate before because that would have blocked him in. Instead he went for the escape route. You need to be able to, again through practice, judge when to go for gates and when to escape. So those two things I think are very well illustrated in this game, in this run. And that's, that's a little bit lucky, but you got to have the balls to go for it. That was a lovely escape. One thing I'd modify, I think, about this is how he uses the gates kind of on a technical level. I think that was nice because he went into the cloud there, but too often the gates are being exploded like then, and then he's just flying away. And the problem with that is that it doesn't get the geome. You don't get a geome unless you get the chance to go back on yourself, and that then is depending upon the contingency of everything. But also, more importantly, when you're moving about as much as that and you're not stopping at all, it gives the blues a chance to really spread out. They don't get pushed back on themselves, and that's when you use the gates to really go in onto the clouds, onto the blues, as I've talked about previously. That has the effect of winding the enemies in on themselves and just literally creating more room on the screen to survive. And I think if you fly around as much as this and don't take chances to go back on yourself, you will get crowded out, and that's what happens here. It's just inevitable as they expand like this. You will die. You will get blocked in just because the blues are covering so much of the screen. So all I'd say is I think you need to use the gates not just as a weapon for destroying the blues, but also an opportunity to move the ship into the clouds and wind them in on themselves, just so they occupy less space on the screen. And then you'll have more chance to make those escapes, and you'll be collecting more of a geome. But I don't want to sound too critical, because I mean 1.8 billion is a really high score, and clearly old Skinny Pig knows what he's doing here. Well, I'm just sort of calling it as I see it, and that's the one big change I would make. So yeah, that was easier than I thought it would be to do a commentary on some Pacifism gameplay. I think this can work. I hope that's been useful, and like I say, I'd like it if other people took the chance to leave their comments, and if they agree or disagree with me, to say so. Special thanks to SkinnySwine for coming up with this idea and being kind enough to pass it on to me. I never would have thought of this. That's a really cool thing to do. And let me know what you think of this format, of this idea. If no one else wants to send me their gameplay, that's fine. It'll be a short series, but yeah, that's absolutely fine. I'm glad to have just done this one. But if anyone else wants me to give some tips kind of tailored to their gameplay, then like I say, send me a private message and we'll take it from there. RaincloudGaming out!